Hello, beautiful friends, and welcome back to another month of essential readings. This is the third month I've been doing this new style of doing readings. And what I really like about it is I get down to the core message for each sign, for each energetic signature, for each archetype, so that we can really focus in and you can just take it with you and make it yours. And I think that's what's so important about using these tools, is that it's not about me telling you your future, telling you what to dread, what to look forward to, but instead just some tools to explore your intuitive process and how that's feeling and looking for you. And so I think these essential readings really allow me to do that, and they are so much fun, and I'm finding them to be a really great way to explore the energies. So if you're new here, what we're going to be doing today is I will leave chapters for all 12 signs below so you can follow your rising, follow your sun, follow your moon, do whatever feels good to you. It'll be easy to navigate, or watch all 12 if you want. I will be giving you some of the core essential intuitive messages, some questions to ask along with that, and we will pull a card to amplify that intuitive wisdom even more. I have been doing this for a few months and trying out some new things. And I just want to say before we get into the main meat of the readings that you're going to notice, if you happen to watch more than one of the readings, that this July, this Cancer season and into Leo season, in this particular year, there are very specific themes that came up time and time again when I checked in with the energies. And I just want to point them out here right up front. A lot of the messages are going to be about self-honesty. Honesty within ourselves and where we are holding on to old routines because we feel like we have to, suppressing joyful things, curious things, actions that we feel we're not allowed to take, and trying to control things. So we're going to be noticing a lot of themes about reassessing how we are speaking to ourselves and how we are using our energy. And if we are really having to stay in the grip of some of those processes. Cancer season this year and July in general is like walking through one big, gigantic, intuitive self-assessment doorway. And we come out the other side, and as we move into Leo season, there is a fresh understanding of who we are becoming, and that is just going to be essential here. The other big theme, this is one of my favorite themes to explore and work with. I think it's the core mission in my life in exploring this, is to find deeper trust with the process. Deeper trust of ourselves, that we will choose to do things from that place of self-trust and love, and also a trust in a greater process. And that's not to sugarcoat or gloss over the gray areas of life and the difficulties and the things like grief and loss and sudden overwhelm. There's a lot to navigate in life. But in developing a greater tolerance for feeling trust, we are developing a tool set that allows us to move through these times in our lives and also to be more present for the beautiful things in life. And so these themes are going to be really prevalent in the readings today. I hope you enjoy them. I am so curious about what this July brings. I am going to be offering a lot of extra support over on my Patreon if you are looking for a beautiful community of like-minded spirits, and I offer support every single week there. So I'd love to see you there. But until then, let's get into this month's conversations. Hello, Aries. As always, such a pleasure to connect with your energy. And this is such an interesting month for you because we are moving through a lot of energy in Cancer. We have Venus and Mercury and the Sun moving through there and amplifying your fourth house, your hidden internal world. And here's what I would like to say about that. Also, you have Jupiter and Chiron near the end of the month going retrograde in your sign. You're working very deeply with both of these energies right now, and that is giving you a chance to do some introspection. So a lot of the energy of this month is about the internal hidden world and the process inside. And what I'd like to say about this is that when you are looking for answers outside of yourself, you're trying to ask every single friend what they think you need to do. You're trying to pull on signs and signals from everybody else and everywhere else, another authority figure to tell you what it is you're needing or longing for, the solutions you're looking for, the next step, or whatever it is that may be coming up in your life. every time you get that impulse to kind of go out there, and even here, you know, clicking on this video and listening to me, I want you to take a few minutes and feel into the textures, the colors, the feelings, the different experiences that are going on in your body as you are asking about that question or that area of life where you are wanting support or clarity. And getting into this practice and moving with it more and more and more this month is going to really offer you a lot of insight. And I am not suggesting that Aries has to stop being Aries, being that beautiful, bold fire sign that lives life ferociously and is really good at initiating things and getting out there and moving your energy through the world. I love it and I'm here for it. I will always be here for Aries energy, and that is a fact. But what I am saying is I want Aries energy I want you to feel as though you are supported. And one way to do that is to listen into that intuitive hidden world inside of yourself. And then when you're taking initiative action and you're using that Aries fire, you're using it in a way that feels really rewarding. But it's not going to come from looking outside of yourself. And time and again, you will notice, especially before we get into Leo season, where the fire energy is going to start to pick up at the end of the month and start to play. And we'll talk about that in August. It's important that you just know that there's going to be a lot of references back to the internal landscape and how that is feeling. So really pay attention to the colors and textures and sensations you are having in July inside in your world. And it will lead you to some really interesting answers, I think. So some of the questions that came up that you may want to journal with or play with or explore are these. What if I trust my intuition? What if I trust those moments I need to rest instead of just pushing through forward all the time? What if it's okay if things aren't done in an exact timeline or the exact way that I think they need to be done? And what does it feel like if I let go of the need to push? And that last question I think is really interesting. As a fellow person with a lot of fire in my chart, this is one I've explored a lot in my life. And I'm going to start shuffling here because I have a lot of times where I'm just going to push through. I'm just going to make it happen. And it has been an uphill slog, and I've done it. I've made it happen. However, when I notice that I just feel like I need to push through and I take a breath, sit down, slow down, often my energy actually is less impeded and I'm able to be more of that fiery self. So that's one to explore. What happens if we let go of the need to push? How does our fire energy then get to be explored? And this is just a fun one to connect with. Six of Pentacles. So this is a card of balance and harmony and recalibrating our systems. And this is about giving and receiving as well. So there's a theme here as well of how you're using your energy, how you're using that fire energy in a practical sense. You know, are you over giving in one area and under giving in another? And this can be about your own internal system as well. If you are, you know, working a lot of hours and never taking rest, or vice versa, maybe you're wanting to express more of your Aries energy. This card is just saying that if there's some stuff that's feeling a little out of whack, a little out of balance, this is a fantastic month. And once again, the more you listen into those colors, textures, and sensations that are going on with you when you're asking questions about things that are feeling a little challenging or off, you will find that there more and more information opens as you keep doing that practice. I highly recommend journaling if you want to explore that, or painting, or doing something that allows you to express the textures and sensations so that they can lead you to what needs attention and recalibration. So trust that internal guidance system. Trust that it's okay to not have everything done in July. And I promise your energy is going to soar, but it is going to require going in first before you go out. And I love you all, Aries. Have a beautiful July. Beautiful Taurus friends. All right, let's get right into this. So this is actually a really beautiful coalescing month for Taurus. The energy moving through Cancer is sextiling you. So we got like your ruling planet Venus moves in there, Mercury moves in there, the sun's moving through there. This is so beautiful for creative forces. And I mean creative in that really flowing, soft, intuitive way. So it's really, really great energy. That full moon in Capricorn we're going to have this month as well is going to be trining you and trining Uranus in your sign. So that's going to be amplifying this whole big process that you have been at work with Uranus for the last several years, and really highlighting how that has been working with you. This is a great time, actually, during that full moon and during this Cancer season, to kind of think back over the last few years, the last 3 years or so, and notice what has coalesced and changed for you. How have you transformed and grown via this Uranus process? I think that's going to be a big question to answer for each of you, but I'm really curious to see what that will be. The thing with this energy in general, because so much of it is flowing with you this month, is that it's going to be about trying things out and getting playful. And this is something that I think I come up with a lot in my conversations with Uranus and Taurus and this whole process that we've been going through. I keep saying it. The message keeps coming up. You got to just keep trying things differently. This is not about going back to the familiar, tried and true, right? It's about kind of stepping forward without being able to see all the way into the future, stepping forward and trying things with new ways of approaching creativity and art and sharing and showing up and being present and whatever it is, without really knowing how it's going to play out, and letting yourself be the experimenter and the magician. That's so much of the Uranian energy that we are working with here. So one of the things I wanted to bring up with Taurus for the practice as we move through, especially Cancer season, but of course, even as we move into Leo season, which is so much about expression from the hidden internal for Taurus. One of my favorite experiments to do, and it's one that I come back to time and again because I forget this often, is to ask this question. And just to keep coming back to it every day. And that is, what if I just feel safe to try things out? What would I do? What would happen if I just decided I am safe to make an ugly painting? I am safe to just relax in that social scenario and not feel like I need to comfort everybody or be there for everybody. What would happen if I felt safe to rest a little bit more? What would happen if I felt safe to do things a little bit differently? Even though nobody's done it that way before? What if I felt safe? What if it felt easy? What if I felt just totally supported? And I think that this is a practice that, yes, we've heard it. It comes out in different conversations all around this topic. However, it's amazing what happens when we really devote some energy to asking that question every day. Something starts to shift that's really, really powerful. And within that, there develops a greater self-trust of this whole process. And that's what I'm saying. And I mean, when you're thinking about this July, when you're thinking about the last 3 years and your journey with Uranus so far, it'll be interesting for you to notice how you have come through a lot of wild things, hard things, confusing things that when you were in it were very confusing, that now you can understand kind of like, okay, I made it through that. I figured out the steps, and building deeper self-trust as you move forward, continuing on this Uranus trajectory. What can you give yourself a little bit more of the wisdom of you now that you're giving to that past self? Can you let your future self give you that wisdom today? And that is another aspect that I think will be really fun to explore this July, because we're kind of in the midpoint with you all in that journey with Uranus. And so this is a really great place to check in with that. Knight of Cups came in. I love it. This is the hopeful dreamer. This is the energy of the truth, love, and beauty, poetry, flowers, the gorgeous overflowing cup of life. And for me, there is this kind of hopeful, beautiful, connective, nurturing energy in Cancer season that is so beautiful. And really what this makes me think of, especially in a conversation with the Venus-ruled sign of Taurus, I love my Taurus peeps, is that do what feels good. Make sure to fill that cup up with all of that nurturance. Also, message in Cancer season, always, is let others take care of you. give you their energy and time and love on you. So go toward the good feeling things, go towards the things that feel comforting and beautiful, and let yourself play and explore. And that's about it. I love you, Taurus. Hello, Gemini friends. This is such a fascinating July for Gemini energy in general, I think. So we are moving through a lot of Cancerian energy at this time, which is second house energy for you. So this has a lot to do with our self-worth, our self-love, and how we value our time, our energy, and what surrounds us. Not only that, we have Mars moving into your neighboring sign of Taurus this month and spending many weeks there. And this is in your 12th spiritual house, the hidden and unseen world. We also have, in the middle of Cancer season, we have a full moon in Capricorn, and this is highlighting your 8th house of transformation. So we are just going a little deeper here with the Gemini energy during this July, especially as we move through the Cancer season, because this is going to be a time where it's the big central question is this: are you allowed to be at peace and busy doing your storytelling and creating and playing and letting your vibrant energy move through? Now, I know that this seems like a really basic question, but I know with very smart, brilliant people who are very good with words and ideas and thoughts, there is a part of us that often will be running the show saying, no, you can't just be at peace. You got to be constantly, moving on something, looking for something, doing something, sorting through something. And so this is a really great season as we go through this doorway, that full moon of release, this Cancer season of self-worth, and even the Mars energy working behind the scenes for you. This is a really great time to check in with if you let yourself be at peace as you're living your life, as you are doing the basic things of a day. How often do you let yourself be at peace throughout that? And how often do you feel like you have to agitate your own waters in order to be worthy of whatever it is that is coming through your day? And that's not to give Geminis a hard time. I don't think this is a specific Gemini problem. I think a lot of people have this, but it's just the themes that are coming up for July. So here are some of the questions that you may want to journal with or explore this month in light of what I've just shared. And I also want to say before we get into the journaling questions that when we start to move into Leo's energy, and that's at the end of the month, the last week or so of July, you're going to start to notice there's a lot more playful energy starting to work with you. So use the Cancer season energy, those first 3 weeks of the month, to kind of just do some checking in and exploration on the inside. And that will really lead you into a very playful Leo season. So, are there areas of your life that you feel have to be complicated and stressful? If so, explore. What are those frameworks? What are those indecisions? What are those worries? And just have fun. This is not about judging any of this. This is about just getting really curious and being like, oh, that is really weird that I have this belief deep down that I have to keep doing this. Could you simplify any aspects of your life? And would you be allowed to be at peace if you simplified them? And are you allowed to be at peace even if you don't have all of the answers yet to your process? Are you allowed to be at peace in the process of life? And, this is something that's important because we're going to keep being in some kind of process. So the more that we can activate that sense of trust and peace in ourselves, the better off we're going to be for the sustainability alone. The final question, I actually have this highlighted, is what would feeling more spaciousness inside of your internal world do for any other processes in your life? So, and that's a big theme that keeps coming up in July. What happens when we have a little bit more spaciousness to breathe? Ace of Pentacles came out. I love this. So this is a really interesting card. I love Ace of Pentacles. I say this often, but the more I've worked with tarot, the more I've come to really respect Ace energy, because it denotes that we've just been through one cycle, one process, something that has come full circle. And we may have gotten really tired at the end of that. We may have come to have a whole bunch of new questions at the end of a process. We may also feel like we're fulfilled. That process was great, but now what? And the Ace of Pentacles offers that next little step. And when we get aces as well, for me, aces are sometimes big, bold things, but a lot of times they start off as little breadcrumb trails that we follow. And we follow the breadcrumb trail. We follow the scavenger hunt through the topography of our day. So Ace of Pentacles is inviting you, Gemini, to start to follow the topography of your day-to-day. Notice the little signs and signals that are leading you forward. There's something new that's wanting to be unwrapped, but it may take a little bit of time for you to get the full picture of what that is. So in creating spaciousness and peace in yourself, it will help you to access that information much more easily. I hope you have a beautiful July, my wonderful, brilliant friends. Hello, Cancers, the energy of the month, right? You are kind of the dominant presence of July, the sun moving through there. Happy birthday to any July Cancers out there, as well as Venus and Mercury will be moving through with you. And what a beautiful Cancer season this is going to be. When I checked in with your energy, I felt this overflowing sense of happiness and joy and connectivity and a feeling of flow. And in general, I think the energies are flowing with you quite beautifully in July. And for me, it's about the happy little ripples. I almost imagine being in like this beautiful warm pool of salt water, you know, and you're just floating and you feel the ripples around you and you feel that connection. You feel like you're fully in your element. And I think the key to this is trusting some of your Cancerian wisdom. Our culture doesn't really teach us about intuitive water wisdom in general. And I mean, that's a very big general statement, but it's true. It's not emphasized very much. So it's always important to remind ourselves that that intuitive water way of viewing the world and feeling the world is full of information, super valid, and can actually help us. So I think the key to this kind of rippling positive connections, it's a very connected energy that I'm noticing for Cancerians this month. I think the key to that is letting yourself go there, letting yourself be yourself without feeling like you have to put on the costume of somebody else or put on the garb of who you think you need to be. So this is going to be a practice, and it can sometimes be a little bit of our blind spot, because in just being in our innate nature, it will feel like a little too calm and we're used to who we are deep down. We're used to ourselves. So it doesn't feel like, whoa, this is crazy, especially if we've been trained for a long time to put on a whole bunch of costumes and carry that weight around with us all day, every day. So when we just come home to ourselves, it's sometimes very, very quiet at first. However, this is where interesting things start to happen. So the message in general is just trusting in that a little bit more. And also, I would say do exercises that allow you to focus your vision on allowing information to come in. So open your sight and your vision to allow that information and connectivity and information to come in. I think when the sun's moving through your sign too, in general, like anybody, when it's moving through your sign or moving through a sign that is tied to you somehow, this is always a time where we are reconnecting with who we are as we move into a new year or a new season, and really thinking about what worked and what didn't work and how it moved for us. And I think that will be a theme that does come up through the first 3 weeks of this month. By the time we get to the end of the month, we also are going to have Jupiter and Chiron go retrograde in Aries, a fellow cardinal sign. And this is going to be kind of introspection and exploration of how you want to use your Cancerian energy in the world and share of your gifts, where maybe it's not feeling very satisfying and where you are wanting more expansion. So those are going to be themes that start to come up as we get into Leo season as well, and as we start to explore that. And we'll talk more about that when we get to August's readings, when it comes to your self-worth and how you move into the world on a practical, physical level. So some of the questions that I thought would be fun to explore for Cancerians while I start to shuffle are: what does my intuition tell me about this year, this upcoming new season, however you like to measure time or yourself? What are some of the big hits that you get on that? Listen in for those, have fun with those, explore those regularly this month. what expectations do I have of things being clunky, hard, or harsh that I can release as I move into this new year? That's a fun one. Personally, I know I have a lot. I do this to myself all the time. And then what expectations would I like to create about how my energy moves through and the experiences I have? So kind of just setting yourself up, Cancer, to feel supported internally, externally, in the process, in that connective energy. And like I said, I think I didn't point out enough that this month is also for Cancerians a lot about ideas clicking, people clicking, things coming together, things coalescing. So this can be a really interesting month for that landscape to take shape. Page of Cups, yes. The beautiful news bearer. So like I said, this is kind of a month for Cancer energy, Moon Children energy, that is about receiving information, getting new insights, getting things clicking together. And that may look different than you expect. I feel like pages often bring news. Sometimes it's expected, but a lot of times it comes in its own packaging, its own form. And so you're going to want to prime yourself to be able to see that when it shows up so that you're really connected to it. Because sometimes we will be so busy focusing on what we think the shape needs to be that when things starting to come in, we've blinded ourselves to it. So that's where these practices of letting go of expectations and then creating expectations that support us can really help us to see clearly. So I hope that was helpful. Have a beautiful birthday if you are having a birthday this month. I love you all so much, and see you next month for our continued conversation. Hello, beautiful Leo Pride. As always, it feels so good to be with my people. As a Leo sun, this is special energy to me personally, but also to the world. First off, I wanted to just say that, Leos always get teased for hogging the spotlight. And I even saw a message about, the beginning of Leo season, which starts this month, this July, that it's all about everybody clamoring for the spotlight. And I was thinking about how that view of Leonine energy and heart energy is so scarcity based. It's so much about this kind of petty scratching after something, and how the true heart of Leo energy is that everybody shines in their own way, and that the more at peace we are with our inner childlike joy and our true spirit, the more we can all relax into how we shine. And I was thinking about how for Leos, the magnetism of Leonine energy is in the joy. It is in the ability to perceive things through the lens of that Leo way, and about that curiosity and that playfulness and that willingness to try. That is what is magnetic about it. And so I just want to affirm right out of the gate today that is where we're wanting to focus Leo's energy. I know there's been a lot of challenges, and there have been some intense years, and we've all probably been through some interesting obstacles and experiences over the last couple of years. And yet there is something that endures, and I want us to get back to those basics. And one of the things that's going to come up, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in the Leo season discussion as well as August's reading, this is about understanding your growth. I mean, when we move through Cancer season, before we even get to the sun moving into Leo, this is a really important time of integration and self-understanding. And this is about really knowing how you have grown, how you have changed, how you have slowly but surely allowed your true spirit to shine through in very specific ways. And I want you to get really specific in journaling about this and monologuing about this and thinking about this. How have you grown? And really seeing it and understanding what you have moved through and who you have become, and really taking the time to enjoy looking back over that. And understanding that time is circular. So as we are doing that, we are also giving ourselves the courage for what is coming next and preparing ourselves to open up to that, so that open, curious, wild spirit can really do its thing here in the world. And that is going to be about relaxing into it and building that self-trust. Now, the main message that came through on top of all of that was keep your field of vision wide and open. This is a wonderful month, and I'm getting goosebumps when I say this. You know, we often will kind of have, you know, you might have like kind of, this is what July is going to show me, right? Because we know ourselves pretty well, and, you know, we know what we like. We know what's coming up, right? We think. But this month, for some reason, it's like, just don't get too hyper fixated on this is the one way, because there are going to be elements that come in that don't fit into that one way. And so you could blind yourself to them. I mean, they'll keep pecking at your window, so don't worry, you're not gonna like miss it. However, it's gonna be easier and more fun. Just keep it open. You know, just have no assumptions about yourself and see what happens. So some of the questions, because we're starting to get into Leo season this month, and it is going to be about your creative journey and how you use your creative energy in the world. What would I create if I felt completely safe to do so? What stories do I tell about myself and this last year that feel empowering? What versions of the story feel belittling and harsh? This is important in how we tell our story and how we speak about ourselves. Do I feel safer staying in the old shape, or do I want to be curious about the signs and signals coming in? Because there are some new forms and signs and signals that Leos are going to be embodying as we move into Leo season and past Leo season. So this is a time to prepare and open. And I don't want to get like, it's not ominous or anything. It's just there are new colors going to be expressed. Queen of Pentacles came out. So this is a queen of grounding, meditation, centering. I think that's really interesting. In some ways, you know, the queen, she's kind of focused on this pentacle. She's hyper focused on it, and that's not necessarily the wide open field of vision, right? But I think what the Queen of Pentacles almost always brings, the wisdom and the medicine, and is that centered and grounding. So when you get this card, it means that it's important to, you know, do what it is that helps you clear your mind and just be present, whether that's meditation, a hot bath, a long walk, all of those, yoga, walking with your dogs, petting your cat, journaling, automatic writing. I don't know what it is, but make sure to carve out time for that, because that is the gateway through which that wide field of vision will be available to you so that you can take in the information that wants to come. Happy beginning to Leo season. We will come back around to a chat about this time of year very, very soon, and I'm so excited to get into it. I love you all. Hello, my beautiful Virgo family. As you know, I am very connected to you all. As a Virgo moon, I live this life. And this is such an interesting month. So we're starting to turn the corner here, right? As we go through Cancer and Leo season, we're getting closer and closer to Virgo season. And when we get closer to there, we're turning into a really interesting part of the year for Virgo energy, which has to do with expanding into the collective energy and kind of letting go of all our I am individual energy a little bit more and trusting into and melting into a bigger process. And I find this to be really, really helpful energy and can be great in resetting and getting us prepared for a beautiful Virgo season. Now, with that being said, because we have all this energy moving through Cancer, we have even your ruling planet moving through Cancer this month, and then we move into Leo, your 12th house of the spiritual and the hidden. This is going to be a great month to let go of any hard grips you have on the process. And I have to be so honest with you all. I had a reckoning, and I'm not trying to project too much of my own stuff. This is really what just came up when I was meditating on your specific energy. But I was realizing for me, the last 6 months, I was trying to think my way into control about so many of the things that needed to get done in my life, things that are practical and very real and did need to get done. But I tortured myself with this tight feeling that I would just have around my whole body, in my mind. And it was I didn't even realize it was happening until I really took a moment to take some deep breaths. So this is what I'm saying. July is a wonderful time to get into practices that allow you to release that harsh grip on everything and to build trust with yourself. Because here's the thing, Virgo. In general, what I would say about Virgo energy is that your standards are way up here. So you're not the type of people or energy that needs to up your standards and try harder and learn about that aspect of life. Your part of your journey is to remember the other part of Virgo's energy, which is the goddess, which is the feeling of wholeness in yourself. And that is great. And that for you, if you relax and release the tension and stop trying to control your way to solutions, you're still going to get things done. You're still going to take next right steps. You're still going to do things with impeccable taste and clarity. That's not going anywhere because you release your grip. So this month is going to be reminding you to take care of yourself in that regard over and over again, and to get you to dissolve some of the armor and the tightness that you may have collected over this year, so that you can be more present for what wants to come in and show you the way. So some of the questions that came up with this, and this is about experimentation. I want you to just try some things out and play with it and see what happens. What are you attempting to thinking your way into controlling? You know, we can think our way into a storyline that shows us that we are actually in control of the speed of paperwork, the way somebody's going to react, how we show up in a certain context, right? But if we really look at that, we know that that's not true. So this is going to be one of those places you can play, explore, let go. And I'm just going to tell you right now, because sometimes it's nice to hear somebody just say it. You can't control all that stuff. You're not supposed to control all that stuff. That's not where the interesting stuff happens, so you can let it go. Also, what would happen if you allow yourself spaces in the day, in the week, where you just float and trust? And if you don't have a high tolerance for this, and I think we all have different seasons of life where we have more or less tolerance, whatever. Start small. Give yourself 5 minutes where you're like, I'm just floating along and seeing what happens. Build it up. Build up the tolerance throughout Cancer season, throughout Leo season. See what happens when you keep expanding your range of tolerance in your self-trust and your trust in the process. And notice how things keep working out. Ace of Swords. Yes, I love that for Virgo. Solutions, answers, clarity coming in. Things are done. It's already done. Things that may have felt like they were taking ages to wrap up, you're getting that ace. You're getting that sword. And I do think that this energy will come in more easily the less tight you hold yourself. Because then you are, like I said, tapping into that whole energy, that complete energy that is the essence of Virgo, that allows things to move through in really, really clear and profound ways. So the more you float and trust, the more you're actually going to see and do. And I think that really, I just get this feeling like that's all I needed to come here and say. Is just give you all a breath and give myself a breath too, to just be present and know that you can trust yourself. So I hope you have a beautiful July. We will meet here again for August and the upcoming Virgo season. Librans, hi. I'm so happy to be sitting with your energy, actually. I feel like this is a message that I always enjoy discussing and exploring for July for Librans. So we're moving through your fellow cardinal sign of Cancer's energy with the Sun and Venus and Mercury, these very powerful planets doing that work. And we also have Mars moving into your 8th house this month in Taurus. Now, this is a really interesting combo because this is going to be asking you about what energy you actually want to put out in the world. I feel like Libra, you have this really cool space in the world where you are often in visible spaces and doing things that offer up your energy. That's great. That's part of the beauty of Libran energy, is this ability to calibrate situations and show up to things and share and lead and teach and help others see each other. However, that uses a lot of energy. And that can show up in a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to be traditional communication ways or anything like that. We do this in our personal lives. We do this in our creative lives. We do this in our professional lives, all of it. But it doesn't always feel good just because you're good at it or because you're talented at it, right? And sometimes we get really familiar with how we show up and use our energy. And it just seems like, well, that's just how it works. Everybody knows I'm good at it, and this is how I share my energy. Well, this month, during Cancer season especially, and even into Leo season, as we start to work with like how your friendships and your community, as we get to the end of the month, this is going to be a time where you just want to notice what feels good when you share your energy. What feels energizing? It feels like when you've shared that energy, you feel more yourself, you feel more at ease. And where, when you share your energy and you're putting your energy out in the world, does it feel like you are drained? You feel kind of icky. You feel like you have to take days to recover from it. And this is just going to be a season to think about that calibration. And to get really honest about it too, because sometimes we will blind ourselves to something that's starting to feel icky or tiring because at some point it served us. At some point it felt really good. At some point it made total sense to who we are today. And when it changes, it can be very scary to admit that we have that change in ourselves. So some of the questions that can kind of help with this, if you are exploring this topic, is what feels good to share and what feels good when others see that come out of you, whether that be like literal art or something that you do or something that you share. What feels really good when you share it? What would feel really good if you share it? Because this is also about parts of yourself that you feel like you aren't allowed to share and you've been keeping repressed. So if there's something that you would just love to see what would happen if you shared, this is also a great time to explore that. What has been feeling icky, cumbersome, uncomfortable, draining when you share your energy? And like I said, this can range from professional things to friendships to even your routine in your own personal day that has nothing to do with other people in the world around you. This is a really, really great question. It's one that sometimes we don't want to answer because we want to keep the status quo going, but it's a great one. And am I allowed to make changes to any of these processes? I think just opening the door to allowing that there's a possibility that we can make changes and adjustments, because one of the things is that let your gut and your heart speak. They have a lot to tell you right now, and they're going to be speaking loudly and they want to be heard. But one of the reasons we don't want to hear it, or we get a little nervous to do these kind of inquiries, is because we feel like we're not allowed to make adjustments, because that would be selfish, that would be destructive. You know, our inner critic can start just going wild trying to keep us safe. So this is a real time to give the inner critic a break and really just listen into your energetic signature and honor it, Libra, because not all of your energy needs to be thrown out into the world. You don't need to always share. And also, if you have something that you feel like you want to share, you're allowed to try. You're allowed to put it out there and see what happens. So this is one of my favorite topics to explore in myself. One that I'm been working on a lot this year, actually. So it's personal, it's vulnerable, it's scary. It does challenge the inner critic. It does challenge the status quo in ourselves and in the world around us. But it's great energy. And High Priestess came through, which is the ultimate intuitive guidance. She is an initiator in the gateway. She's sitting at the Temple of Solomon. And of course, she's associated with Isis, with the moon, with intuition. She is a guiding point of information and light. And, you know, she's also sitting on these waters. So this is about trusting your intuition. This is not about writing out all the pros and cons in a, well, I should be grateful for this because I've done it this way forever, and I should be doing this. It's not about the shoulds. It's about an intuitive understanding of something that is bubbling up through you and almost can't be stopped. And the assignment here isn't to turn your life upside down in July. Your assignment here is to give yourself permission and open the door to the possibility of things shifting and reconfirming to yourself that you are safe in giving yourself that permission. And I just hope you have a beautiful July exploring these themes. I will be right there with you as a Libra midheaven. I feel this one deeply, and I love you all so much. Hello, my beautiful Scorpio friends. As always, it's amazing to tap into your energy and explore the Scorpionic world. I always get such a kick out of the different vibe that this provides me with. So This is a very interesting time of year. Cancer season is going to be very much in flow with you in the big philosophical sense. So the Sun and Mercury and Venus are all going to be working really, really closely with you in that. We also have Mars, your original ruling planet, opposing you over in Taurus and challenging you a little bit, asking you to really look around. And then, of course, as we move into your fellow fixed sign of Leo and Leo season, more and more energy is going to start to pour in there. This is about how you share your energy in the world. For me, these are all challenges to you to stay open and trust yourself more. You may not know exactly why you got called to begin a project or move a certain place or open a door or close a door. There may be things where you're just like, I got called to do this. I followed my intuition and I have no idea what is trying to move through from that. I have no idea. But here's what July can offer you is an opening to understanding that process. I'm looking at my notes here because I have so many and I don't even know how to encapsulate this all and get it down to the bare bones. But what I will say about July for Scorpios is this is about a larger invitation that you will not understand fully in July. And this is also about your personal philosophy of who you are and how you view your role in the world, and making sure that you are working with a personal philosophy that makes you feel safe and at peace, and that is working with you rather than against you. This is also about building tolerance to trusting your process and trusting yourself. So some of the questions that came up for this Cancer and into Leo season are you allowed to trust yourself and others who are close to you? Are you allowed to do that? Just on a typical day, can you just trust? You know, and we're talking yourself, those nearest and dearest to you, and to your general energetic surroundings. Do you feel like you have to hold the whole process together and control it? So if you do have a question, you feel like you're mid-process, you have no idea why you got called to this job, to this project, to this place, to this relationship. You're like, what is this? Do you feel like you then are in charge of holding that whole thing together and coming up with the answer right now? If so, why is that? And why do you think that you're the one person that's holding this all together? Because that is an illusion. And your energy, your scorpionic energy, is much better suited to letting go of that and doing what you do best, which is listening to your intuition, listening into the hidden and unseen, picking up on subtle details, and very wisely and intelligently being able to move with that. So you don't need to use all your energy with this other stuff. And with that in mind, with some of your skills and talents in mind, is there space for the mystery to show the way this month? Are you making space for mystery to be there, holding your hand, supporting you, loving you, taking care of you? Often we are taught in our culture to distrust our intuition, distrust the mysterious nature of the universe, and distrust anything that has to do with that. But I've actually found that the mystery is very comforting and loving and is a great friend and ally. And I know the Scorpios are already on board with this. So this is a reminder to you that there is some mysterious thing at work with you. You don't have all the answers yet, and that is fine, but you are being challenged to lean into the mystery a little bit more. Your card came right out, Death. And I love this energy so much. You know, July is a really interesting month because in so many ways, I'm just a fan of water energy. So I think I have a little bit of a bias that this is a beautiful time of year with Cancerian energy. I just love it. But this is a month of a walking through a doorway. This is a month where a lot of us are walking through and we are shedding some things, and we are grieving some things, and we are processing some things, and we are embodying some new things. And that for me is exactly what this Death card is speaking to. This is an innate part of you, your ability to ever renew and be in a creative place from this transformational space. And that's what it's about. It's about trusting your unique gifts and talents and staying open to them rather than shutting yourself down to them. Because I've mentioned this time and time again, I feel for Scorpios because in our culture, you are taught very young often to shut down the part of yourself that makes the most sense. And therefore, it feels almost unsafe to just do what you do naturally. So this is a reminder to trust into that and stay open to that. And I am so excited to see what comes from this process and these explorations. Sagittarius, as always, it is such a pleasure to get to explore this with my fellow Sagittarius family. And July is really interesting. I already feel like for the collective, it's a doorway through which we can process and move forward. And it's reigniting a real feeling of being in touch with our intuitive wisdom and in listening into our internal worlds and then using our vital life force out in the world from that place of listening to our internal worlds and just amplifying that. And for Saggies, this is a really interesting time of year. So because Cancer energy with Sagittarius, this asks for some transformation. But what I really see here with this, with the Sun and Venus and Mercury moving through Cancer the first few weeks of the month, is that this is, and also with Mars moving into Taurus in your 6th house of how your routines and your habits. The energy here is giving you an opportunity to do some processing, and this is so important if we want to keep moving forward into our joyful, boundless, playful Sagittarian spirits. It's very important we have little moments like this where we are allowed to process grief, trauma, exhaustion, and anything also that just feels ready to go. And this doesn't have to look like laying in bed and crying all day. I mean, it really depends on every person. Of course, I'm talking to a lot of you. And some of you are going to be like, that just doesn't appeal to me. You may be processing by going on super long walks or creating really amazing artwork and just being like, oh yeah, I've changed. Others of us are probably going to do some crying. I've been having, just at the beginning of this Cancer season already, I've been having a lot of really, really intense dreams about things that have passed out of my life over the last couple of years. And it's been really intense and having some feelings about that and crying about that and processing that. But what happens then is in releasing some of this stagnant energy and these old ways of categorizing ourselves and these old ways of directing ourselves, it actually brings in a lot of really great clarity and new energy simultaneously. These things do often just work hand in hand. So it's a very interesting experience and one that I think we don't talk about enough. So when I'm saying, this is like 8th house transformational energy where you are processing and exploring and releasing, that's also leading the way right into Leo season, fellow fire sign, and a ton of things getting lit up and clarified for you so that you can move through life feeling really who you are now and not just past versions of yourself or old things that you're carrying around and weighing you down. So some of the questions that come up with this type of themed work going on during Cancer season is what feels ready to be released? What just feels like, oh, if I could just take a moment and journal about it, feel it, shake it off. What would feel so good to just let go of right now? And I don't have to do this anymore list. That's one of my favorite ones to do. What am I allowed to stop carrying around? What habits, routines, like sometimes we just have I have to keep doing it this way. It's just how it's done. What would feel great to let go of? Am I letting myself walk through new doorways and get curious about the little steps taking me into new connections and experiences? And this is really where it loops back around because Saggies, you're big, bold energy. You want to get in there and you want to dive headfirst and have all the pieces already moving. And believe me, I have Sag energy too. So this is, I'm living it. I'm living it every day. I have 100 projects all around the house. It's a battle. Which one will get my attention? But one thing that has really helped me in working with my intuition and how I'm changing and my creative process and what is going to take the lead is I actually pay attention to the little signs and steps, because they will show me very quickly what project actually makes sense to prioritize. And it happens very fast the more I pay attention to that. Also, I think Leo season is going to be very interesting for you. I should get these cards shuffling because yes, we're going through kind of a powerful doorway at Cancer season this year for Sag energy. Very important doorway that will help release a lot of stagnant energy. Leo season is going to offer up a big golden doorway. That's a weird way to put it, but that is just what is coming through as I'm talking to you right now. That is going to have all the, like, a totally new landscape that you're walking into. So it's important to be prepared and to get ready for that. Two of Pentacles showed up, and I think that's really interesting. And actually, the way, I don't know if you can see, the Ace of Wands was going to come out too. So these two were like tied together and I couldn't leave it behind. Okay. 2 into a 1. I really like that. 2 of Pentacles is I don't know, I want to wear all the hats. It's needing to feel like you need to be both the past version of yourself and the version that you're becoming. So 2 of Pentacles is asking to resolve that. And we do that by listening to those little steps, little intuitive connections, experiences, moments that bring us to the Ace of Wands. And there's that golden doorway. You might feel during Cancer season a little torn and a little like, which path should I take? Which hat should I wear? Who should I be? What do I need to let go of? Maybe you even feel a little foggy, and that is fine. Process, release, let the stagnant energy move through. The Ace of Wands is something that stands true through time, and it'll be shown to you. You won't miss it. You don't have to worry about like overthinking signs and connections. It'll be really obvious. So this is about our self-trust, and this is about where we feel like we have to wear every hat. Notice how those two feel in your body. Notice which one feels better. And that is really the way you're going to want to use your energy and move through. I hope that was helpful. I am so curious to see what this July is going to be like for the Sag family. Hello, beautiful Capricorn friends. So Cancer season. This is a season that I like to term mirror season, when there's a lot of energy in our opposing sign, which is Cancer. So we've got Venus and Mercury and the Sun all moving through your opposing sign. And this gives us the opportunity, whenever there's a lot of oppositional energy like this, to see our life from some fresh perspectives and to kind of look at it from the other end of the stick, of the scale. I don't know how you want to phrase that, but it really can help us kind of lift out of kind of the being in the day-to-day and see it from some new perspective. So that's going to be a huge theme that you're going to notice throughout Cancer season. The other theme that is going to be coming up for you is going to be about receiving help from others, not having to do it all alone, and releasing the feeling that you are in control and in charge of all of these elements, and letting go of that and opening up to receiving help. We only receive the help that we ask for and are open for. I mean, we receive other help too. I mean, there are a lot of benefic and beautiful forces in this world that will help us even when we are being as stubborn as we can possibly be. That is absolutely true. But that benefit only grows the more that we are open to receiving help. And so this is going to be a really essential season for you to work with your inner critic and guards that are trying to keep you safe and keep the status quo going. And to work with them, you want to soothe them. You want to hear them out. You want to let them speak. So journaling is really great for this. Also meditating can be really great for this, and showing them a lot of compassion, also letting them rest, giving them a nice big break so that you can access other parts of your knowing and your intuition, because Capricorns to me are actually very intuitive and very to the point. It's just the way that comes across is often in very practical terms. And so we forget that this has to do with a deeper knowing that is more easily accessed when we have that inner cynic, inner critic, inner guard a little bit less on its game. And this is going to be about relaxing into the deeper trust of your life. So I'm going to start shuffling here. Some of the questions that I think will be really fun to explore here during this mirror season when you are being opposed by all the energy in Cancer that is saying you're not meant to do this all alone. You're not meant to carry this all alone. You are meant to be supported and lifted up by other energies at this time so that you can move through this in the way that it's meant to move through. What would I just love to have support and help with? And this can be spiritual. If you are just feeling at a loss for the next step, this can be practical. Having somebody who helps with email, having somebody who, helps with walking the dogs or cooking breakfast. I don't know, whatever it is, what would just be amazing for somebody to come in and give you that help and support? You don't have to already think of like how you're practically going to do that or afford it or whatever. Just think about what would feel good to get support from. That's all you got to do. What love and spiritual support would I like to receive and feel? So would you like to feel like a connection to a benefic energy that's around you? Would you like to feel support from loved ones on the other side? Would you like, and once again, don't put limitations. This is why we put the cynic to the side. Don't put limitations on what that would feel like. What would be your ideal spirit team? What would be your ideal universal spiritual support team? And what would that feel like if they were present with you 100% of the time? These are really fun visualizations to do. Once again, require you listening compassionately to your inner critic and letting it rest so that you can access this information. And finally, also one of my favorite exercises, what can I accept I have no control over? And then let myself be at peace, therefore. So it's just really good sometimes to sit down, and there's a lot of things we may have going through our head, and just be like, oh yeah, I don't have control over this, this, or this. So I'm just going to take it off my list right now. I think in general, this Cancer season is going to be about what can we take off the plate and of Capricorn's shoulders, off of your mind, so that you can access really great information. 7 of Swords. I love it. This makes me think about the inner cynic and the inner critic. If you asked for help and you had somebody help you with a project, if you asked for spiritual help on a hidden realm, if you stopped trying to control all these elements that you feel responsible for, wouldn't you just be getting away with something? Wouldn't you just be disarming your enemy in an unfavorable way? Wouldn't you just be sneaking around and getting away with something in the universe that will be, cataloged for future time? The 7 of Swords is a lie. That's part of the inherent energy of the 7 of Swords, and a reminder. This is where our mind lies to us. And that's where the sword suit can be really helpful. Discerning the truth in our minds and the false things that our minds concoct. And the 7 of Swords is one of those. So this is really a question of looking at where you feel like you aren't worthy of peace, you aren't worthy of help, and you aren't worthy of letting go of control of a lot of things, and accessing that so you can relax into it. I just want to mention before we close out this essential reading that we are heading into Leo season at the end of the month. And this is a season of transformation for you, where you are shedding a skin and processing old processes. So we are just at the tip of the iceberg on this one. But this is one of my favorite processes. It's really important, and I'm very excited to get into it in August discussions. We will come back around to these themes. But for right now, just keep it simple. Where do you feel like you aren't allowed to receive support? And then see what happens when you let yourself. I love you, Capricorn. Hello, Aquarius. Oh, I am so excited to explore the themes of July with you, my beautiful friends, beautiful teachers. So, first of all, I noticed right away that Mars is going to move into Taurus and square you this month. And also, as we move through this month, we will start off in your 6th house with Cancerian energy routines and kind of the practical day-to-day and how we show up to that and make magic within that. And there is profound magic in that. And then energy starts to move into your opposing sign of Leo. And what all of this is doing, and this is where it really came down to the essential message, was challenge your own assumptions about your life. And this is a sneaky one actually, because there are some obvious assumptions where like, yeah, I know that's an assumption, but there are other ones that just seem like truths. At some point, it became so normalized in our own little world that it's like, this is just the way it's done. This is the truth. This is the true way. And this month is really going to help you see any of those assumptions that aren't working for you, Aquarius. With that square with Mars, with the oppositional energy in Leo, and even with the Cancerian influence of how you show up to the rituals of your day to day. So, and you still have Saturn moving through your sign in retrograde right now, exploring what it means to show up to this life. What gives you energy and feels really true and honest. And this is not about, and the thing that I think is essential about these assumptions and about exploring that and redefining that is that there are certain things that are probably draining your battery and using life force in a way that doesn't feel like you, Aquarius. And this is a wonderful time to look at that. So I came up with some questions that you can journal with, you can play with, do what you want with. Are you allowed to make changes to take care of your batteries? So even just, are you allowed to take care of your batteries, Aquarius? Aquarians are very good at pushing through and making it happen. And I respect that. And I also want you to reflect on if you're allowed to take care of your batteries. Are you? I mean, seriously, are you? Yeah. Are you allowed to do things differently than you've been doing them? While Aquarians are known for doing your thing outside of the norm and challenging norms and doing things in your own funky universe, and I love it, you also will each individually create your own structures and routines and say, this is the way it's done. So within that, are you allowed to change that up? Are you allowed to make shifts where things aren't serving you very well anymore? Are you allowed to see yourself with fresh eyes and let go of some of the old protective ways of pushing forward, categorizing yourself, slicing yourself up, and kind of slicing and dicing your identity? Are you allowed to change those and see yourself with some fresh childlike eyes? Because that is what is really going to be asked of you, especially when we get to Leo season. I think that these are really tricky questions to answer, actually, because they require literally stepping kind of outside of ourselves a little bit and looking at ourselves, almost like an out-of-body experience. It asks us to look at places that we don't normally look at. So this is actually something, a card came out here. Four of Wands came out. This is actually something that's really fun to do with another person. Like if you have a friend, a trusted friend, or a couple friends, you might want to do like a journaling circle or something, which I've started to do on my Patreon, and it's really cool. And we just journal together and then we review together. Because what will really help you see are places where you do have those blind spots and help you to explore those. Because these are places where you just like, sometimes we don't even think to look. So having conversations with friends or a therapist or somebody that you trust can really help with that. I love that the Four of Wands came out for you because this is a card of celebration and like culmination. Four of Wands is energy of a wedding or a graduation, which is really interesting to me. And I do think like with this whole idea of being challenged about your own assumptions about your life, it opens up another level to your life as well. And I also think as energy moves into Leo, while it does challenge you and asks you to look at things in new ways, this is also fantastic for connecting and for like having romantic connections, friendship connections, like a really wonderful sense of connection to others. And I think Four of Wands is noting that down quite clearly. I think the Four of Wands is also, there is something to celebrate. There are lots of things to celebrate, and it's important to focus in on those during this month, even while you may be doing some of these explorations about what you want to allow yourself to do differently and how you want to redefine how you define yourself, and let go of some old definitions, because this month is all about that transformation. But I think for you, the key is there is this celebration going on. So I hope this is making sense. It's like challenge your assumptions about your life And also remember to have fun and let yourself expand into these new shapes that are wanting to take form, because there's something that's wanting to connect with you and be celebrated. Hello, beautiful Pisces spirits. As always, such a pleasure to explore with you. This is some of my favorite energy to sit in and be with. So thank you for being here. Of course, Sun, Mercury, Venus, they're all going to be moving through Cancer this month. And this is really great flowing energy with Pisces and amplifies the intuitive wisdom and the innate natural way that you move through the world. So I really love it for that reason. And with that in mind, this amplifies your heart chakra energy. And for me, this is about listening into that inner knowing, that thing that is tapping on your shoulder for attention. And it could be something quite surprising and seem even kind of out of left field, something that you may have kind of put on a back burner to the side because it's out of left field and it doesn't feel like it is making sense in the central themes of your life. And so you've been like, do I really need to take that 10 minutes to sketch that out, or to do that idea, or to make that phone call? This is a great month to give yourself small practices of diving into that tapping on the shoulder and listening to that inner child, because it wants your attention. It has something that it really wants to show you. And it may have been something that's been tapping at your window, tapping you on the shoulder for a while. It's probably not something brand new. It's probably something that's been kind of waiting on the sidelines for the last little while, several months, even years, depending on who you are, that is really wanting its chance to be expressed. So this is going to be a wonderful month to explore that and see where it's trying to show you and lead you. And keep in mind that where you may get started off on that tapping journey, whether it's to, make a sketch on a pad of paper, it may take you somewhere completely different. It may not to become a world-class designer. It may take you on a journey to a friendship group, or a book, or a new way of learning, or some other creative adventure, or a new relationship. So keep your mind open as well, that little inner child that is tapping on your shoulder for attention is leading you towards something really creative, but that will probably also lead to something that you can't quite envision yet. So staying open to that is going to be really important. I want to also mention, before we get into the cards and the questions, that as we move into Leo season at the end of this month, and as we move into a Jupiter retrograde in Aries, this is going to be a really great time for you to just kind of also think about your routines and rituals in your day-to-day life. What's working for you? Would you like to add in 5 minutes of meditation, or a little bit more sleep, or a little bit more creative space, or a little bit more structure and discipline? Whatever it is, this is going to be a great season for you to just kind of rework that. And I like to rework my schedule and my day-to-day quarterly. Check in with what's working, because it does change based on the seasons, the lighting, my energy levels, all of that. So really great time for that. So some of the questions that came up. What does my inner child want from me right now? How does it want to be expressed? It's a great time to tap into that and see where it wants to express itself. What attention and curiosity is bubbling up? What just gets you curious, where you're just like, I'm going to go down a YouTube hole on this. I'm going to go to the library and get out some books. I'm going to just start playing around with this medium, paint or colored pencils, whatever it is. Follow that. Empress came out. I love it. And finally, can I allow myself to follow those little impulses that lead me forward? So in some ways, that's the first question. Are you allowed? I don't really worry about that so much with Pisces. I feel like you do have a spiky part of you that keeps you safe, because you had to learn how to do that early on in this culture. Being a water sign, you had to find a way to protect yourself. That's true. And there is an inner critic and an inner guard that is going to want to keep you safe. But I also feel like Pisceans are quite good at tapping into that playful flowing energy. I mean, you can't get much more playful flowing than mutable water. And so I feel like I trust you to be able to do that. So it's just a little reminder. But the Empress. So this card, she is like the divine mother, but this is also a card of play and enjoyment. enjoying the things we're playing with, enjoying the things and following that joy. And so many messages in our culture like that is selfish, that is wrong, that is going to lead to you destroying things or destroying your relationships or being a bad person. But honestly, following your joy isn't going to be buying a mega yacht and, destroying other people's lives, is it? It's going to be taking that half hour to draw, to read a book you love. It's going to be taking 5 minutes to dance to a song and be totally ridiculous. It's going to be eating a food that just tastes so good, And those things are actually really important ingredients in listening to our intuition and having that amplify into something really big happening. So that's exactly where you're getting led, is those little impulses to follow the joy are leading to something bigger. And what is this bigger that we're always chasing anyway? I don't know. Like, do we really need something bigger? Maybe not. But there are puzzle pieces coming in that are going to shape the next stage of life coming up. And that's, I think, what I'm getting at here. So I hope you have a beautiful July, my gorgeous water friends. That was such a journey to go through all 12 of those signs. And as always, it takes me to some really, really interesting places and some surprising places. There are some really strong and central themes that just ran through every single sign this month. I think we can all agree on that. If you are looking for more support, you want to hang out, you want to do some of this journaling with me, we have so much fun over on my Patreon. So I'd love to see you there. I am also on Instagram if you would like to hang out with me there, and you can check out my website if you're interested. I'll leave all of those links below. I hope you have a beautiful July, and I will be seeing you here, I hope, for the new and full moons coming up and all sorts of adventures ahead, and for the upcoming Leo season chat. So I will see you here. I hope you will subscribe and hang out for a lot more adventures as we move into this part of the year and the potency of these months ahead. Talk to you all very soon.